speed.
So firstly, Shirley, welcome to De Anza College. I don't know if you've been here before, but it's really nice to have you on campus.
Well, thank you.
Having met you and met you at the museum, and you showed our students some of the exhibit and the barracks that you were in during World War II. But this project, more specifically, is tied to that, but it's more specifically about understanding history from everyday people's experience, getting younger people to understand their elders a little bit more in a society that may have been moving away from having a relationship with our elders, and kind of bridging the gap between generations in a sense.
All right.
And the title of the project is Spaces of Belonging Hidden in Plain Sight /Sight. And that means that there's a commitment to understanding social places and sites where community is built. So Japantown being one area that many of us are familiar with, and you work in that community, I might be asking you questions that are more specific to the place itself, right, Japantown, which I'm not expecting you to be the expert about it, just more like your relationship to a place.
All right. I
Yeah,
understand. Okay.
Yeah. So other things to know about the project: it is a NEH grant-funded project, National Endowment of the Humanities grant-funded project, and it really is with the intention of trying to secure a better future through these dialogues. And I'll just introduce myself briefly. I'm Steve Nava. I'm an instructor here at De Anza, 51 years old. I've been working at De Anza since 2010 and teaching here. And it's become, I guess you would say, a space of belonging for me, an important place for me to build my sense of identity. And I want to allow our interviewers to introduce themselves before we start. So.
Hi, my name is Noemi Tepang. I'm a counselor here at De Anza College, and happy to be here, excited to hear your story.
Yeah, my name's Tara Polly. I'm a second-year sociology student at De Anza, and yeah, I'm excited.
Hello, my name is Daniel Barron. I'm 19 years old, and I'm a second-year student at De Anza, studying sociology, and I'm really excited for today.
My name's Tom Izu. I'm the past director of the California History Center here at De Anza College, and in my retirement, I'm now involved in the Japanese American Museum of San Jose. Thank you for being here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so we're going to have a conversation. We have different questions for different individuals in the panel here to ask you. And first, I just want to allow you to introduce yourself. So if you could share your birth year, your occupation, your ethnicity, and then we could start.
Okay. My name is Shirley Kuramoto. I was named after Shirley Temple.
Oh.
My mother loved movies. I was born on February 9, 1933. So, in other words, in 2 months I'll be 92 years old. And I was born in San Jose, California, actually. Another thing is that when I was 3 months old, my birth father passed away. So my mother remarried, and so my stepfather actually became the only father that I have ever known. So I will refer to him as my father. And I'll just stop here.
Yeah. So could you share a little bit about your family background?
Yes. I'll start with my own background first. I was married for 63 years. My husband passed away a couple years ago. And we had 2 children. We lived actually in San Jose. Now I'm retired, and I live in a gated senior community at this moment. I'm still living independently. I still drive, And my parents, or not my parents, my children have become my parents. We have reversal in our roles. I have become their little lion cub. So I'm their child now. I'm very fortunate. And so, as I said, I've been retired. I would say I retired about when I was 80. I just kept going on, and I think because I was in good, healthy condition. And anything else? I should stop for a moment here.
No, could you tell me a little bit about what you know about your grandparents?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
So I'll start with my father's parents. They emigrated from Japan in the early 1900s. This grandfather and his wife farmed at Half Moon Bay. They're farmers. And then they called for their son, my father. He came here when he was 17 years old. What happened eventually, of course, he came to help his parents do the farming. What happened was he met somebody, some professor's, Stanford professor's son, who knew how to fly an airplane. So my father learned to fly a single engine airplane. And he started flying all over the place. Which angered his father. The father said, "You better come home right away because your mother is dying." So my father, after he had acquired a lot of aviation books, came back to his angry father, and the father confiscated all his aviation books and burned them all. That kind of surprised me because this grandfather was quite intelligent. He was a farmer. However, he got a U.S. patent for left and a right signal patent, U.S. patent. So he was quite, intelligent. The father's parents went back to Japan and then left the son, my father. My father had experiences working with the Chinese laborers laying the railroad track. I don't know where this happened. All I know is that he said that he and the Chinese laborers never had stomach aches because they boiled the water and drank tea. The others all had stomach problems. And then eventually he became a gardener. He became a gardener for Mrs. Pullman. Mrs. Pullman is part of the famous Pullman family that you hear of, the Pullman cars and the railroad passenger cars, Pullman. She led him in Menlo Park. There was a cottage behind this giant big house. This was really in the Horse Country Club area in Menlo Park, and she had a cottage in the back, so he was able to live there. Now I'll talk about my mother's side. My mother was born here in California, and as I say, she loved the movies. She did domestic work at the Stanford dormitory, and then she had a son, my little baby brother, and then I remember she also worked as I think a cook and a server for the Palo Alto Military School. I remember because I helped my mother serve all the food. Then what she did was finally, of course, we went to the camps. And after we came back, my father continued being a gardener. for two wealthy families. First, for a Stanford professor. She was locked up in their house, and we stayed in this little cottage, my father, my baby brother, and myself. My father said, and I was 14 at the time, my father said to me, Mama has to cook for Mr. So-and-so and the sick wife. And she was locked up in this house, big house. So my father said to me, you have to do the cooking now because Mama can't cook for the family anymore. And I was 14. So somebody gave us a venison meat. Now, you know, I've never cooked before. I got this big venison meat and I just stuck it in the oven without any kind of seasoning on it. So you could imagine how this venison tasted. But this father of mine was a very kind, quiet person. Never complained about anything. I never saw my mother cry. I never heard my father complain about anything. All I know is they worked hard during the day, came home, and then we ate dinner, and it was time to go to bed. And then, let me talk about the grandparents, my mother's parents. They had kind of an unusual background. My grandmother was not a picture bride at all. Actually, they married because they loved each other. And they both came to California. He actually, the grandfather, I believe he worked in the railroads too. I can't quite remember. But they ended up as ranch hands or, you know, for the orchard. I forgot whether it was pear orchard or what kind of orchard at Susan Valley, actually. And so my grandmother had raised me when I was an infant until my mother remarried. You know, I'm kind of going back. So when I was about 4, I was sent to a one-room schoolroom in Vacaville. I remember that. And it was the first time, actually, that I was bullied. I didn't know what bullied meant at the time, but I was bullied because while I was waiting for my uncle to pick me up, these boys, I remember, they got these laundry pins, and they put it all over my face. I remember that. But I was very stoic, never cried, never yelled, nothing. And then when my uncle came to pick me up, they removed all these laundry pins. And then when I got in my uncle's car, I remember I started crying. And my uncle said, "What's the matter?" And I wouldn't tell him. I just kept everything. I just started crying. And then that was the last time. And then, but years later, when I was actually in the sociology class, years later, when I was an adult, you know, I remember the teacher gave us an assignment to think about something that happened when you were young. And all of a sudden, during this class time, I thought of that incident that I had forgotten about. And so on my way home after class, I just started crying. I just started crying, and I got home, and my husband says, "What happened?" I couldn't tell him. And, you know, there's one of the things they say that the Japanese have this instilled philosophy of being brave, and it's called gamon, G-A-M-O-N. I feel like even though I wasn't taught about this term, I think somehow I had that gamon because I never told my parents, never told my siblings, never told my friends. I never told anybody of some of the sufferings that I personally went through. I just kept it to myself. I never. And then I had the stoic face. So whether I was sad, happy, mad. I had the same stoic face. It seems like I just kept myself, I just learned to live that way.
Okay. And then we're just going to move on to the next question. What was it like growing up during the time and place of your early childhood, like between ages 5 to 9 years old?
5 to 9.
Yeah.
Okay, that was when I went to the Menlo Park Elementary School, and I remember walking for like, I would say 3, 4, 5 miles, you know, all by myself.
Wow.
I walk, and I knew that one day one of my parents, a good friend, this gentleman, stopped the car because he recognized me. He said, "I'll give you a ride home." And I said, no, I'm not going to ride home. So it was pretty good because young as I was, I knew I didn't want to go in anybody's car. And I walked home and to where we lived in this little cottage. I was able to play with 2 little girls that lived in the front. And anyway, they had a horse, I remember. And they let me ride on a horse with them, you know. So although I was isolated from other children, I only had this, at home, this little white dog to play with. He was the only companion I had, was this little dog named Shido. So that was about 6, 7, and although I was quiet young child, I must say, I think I was a little, you know, I wouldn't say the word adventurous, but new things kind of happened to me that I wanted to try. When these girls says, "Can you go borrow some cigarettes from your mother?" You know, go borrow it. So I said, all right, because I wanted to play with these girls. I don't want to lose them as, you know, playmates once in a while. So I went home, asked my mother, Mr. So-and-so who lives in the front, the owner of the big front house, he wants to borrow a cigarette. So can I bring it to him? So she never asked me any questions. I'm sure she thought it was kind of odd. So why would a wealthy man have to borrow a package of cigarettes? So she let me have the cigarettes, you know. And so I got the cigarette matches. I was so happy, and that I could keep playing with these girls. And I brought this to the field. We were sitting in where there were tall grasses all over the place. We sat down. The girls got their cigarette. Next, my turn. Well, before I knew it, before I even got to light up the cigarette, I heard a voice. Guess who that was? It was Mama. Mama says, "Are y'all having fun?" Because she knew there was something not right about it, right? So that was the first time that I actually had lied to Mama, my first experience. And then, you know, I followed her home. But my mother, you know, she never raised her voice to me. When she was angry with me, she was quiet. And you know what they say, silence is golden. But when Mama's silence, it's not golden at all. Anything else you'd like? Oh, so that's about what I remember until 9, because 9 was when Pearl Harbor happened, and I was 9 in the 4th grade.
So, Shirley, we'd like to learn more about what your experiences were like during the forced removal and mass incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II. I think you were starting from 9 and through 12 years old before you became a teenager. Could you share with us any significant stories or any moments about what it was like during that time period in the camps? And maybe you can
Yes, so
tell us.
right after Pearl Harbor, well, I still went to school yet, you know, because that was December, so it's still January, February. I was still going to grammar school. But after Pearl Harbor, right before I went home, all of a sudden this student, this boy, and it's funny, I could still remember his name to this day. I've forgotten a lot of students' names, but I still remember his. He starts calling me a Jap. I never heard that word before in my life. What's a Jap? But the way he kept saying that to me was very menacing. It was not friendly. And he kept yelling it at me, and I thought, what's this? I mean, I was so confused. I went home. I never told anybody about this, not ever. I was still my stoic self, kept everything that was confusing or hurting, I kept it to myself. So when I went home, my mother says to me, out of the blue, we're moving. Just like that, we're moving. Or we have to move. No explanation at all. No explanation at all. So I said, what's going to happen to Shiro, my playmate, my doggie? What's going to happen to Shiro? That was the only concern I had. Before I knew it, we ended up, of course, we lived in Menlo Park. That meant that's actually San Mateo County. So we were with the people from San Francisco area. We were all sent to the Tanforan racetrack. They had a regular horse racetrack at that time. And our family, again, my parents, my baby brother, he was still in diapers, and myself. We were assigned to live in this horse stall, Tanforan horse stall. Now, at that time, they tried to clean out the horse stall, and they tried to put linoleum on the floor so it won't smell too much, but yet it's stuck. It smelled so much that it would get on your clothes. There was a little opening on top of the horse stall. It was open, and still the smell stayed in. I can't remember the smell. I know there were 2 rooms, only 2 rooms. And all I know is that we were given these mattress covers, and we had to cover it with straw. That was our mattress. I can't remember anything else about that. We had our suitcases. The only thing that I heard my mother complain about, and this is the only complaint, was that because my baby brother still needed diapers, the cloth diapers at that time, and his baby bottles, and some heavy pan to heat up the baby bottles. Took a lot of space of the suitcase. That's the only thing she had mentioned to me. I had really long pigtails. As soon as we moved there, I think it was too much for my mother to take care of my little brother with the situation. It was too much for her to take time to braid my hair. She took me to the barber, and soon after we moved there, she took me to the barber, and the barber just snipped off my long pigtails. And I never looked, I almost looked like a boy at that time. That time was a little different in my time. I was so upset. I was really traumatized that I didn't cry, but I was traumatized. I had to cover my head with a scarf for a long time. And that was the days when we were waiting for our regular barrack to be built yet. So we had to stay there for a few months. And then they had entertainment at the Tanforan, the main area. So I don't remember seeing movies, but they had entertainment, like talent shows over there. I do remember that. I made some friends. It was the first time I was with, of course, we were suddenly with other Japanese families all of a sudden, and I have playmates who were all Japanese Americans, you know. So that was the first time that I was with a lot of Japanese people. And that was the start of the lack of privacy, being in lines, you know. And the only thing I remember about our breakfast that I still eat today is that we ate Kellogg's cereal, dry cereal in the individual boxes, and I remember eating from the box. So that was the beginning. And then my father, on his day off, he built a nice little sailboat, because the men, you know, they didn't have a lake there at the time. The Japanese men got together and built a small lake at the time. That's what I found out. So my father made this little boat for my little baby brother, you know. So that's what I remember. Next.
Which, after that, you went to one of the camps.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Then we were sent to Utah at the Topaz Relocation Center in Utah, and there we were lived in a one-room barrack, and luckily my father was assigned to the carpentry division. I think, now I'm not sure, I think he got $26 a month, I think. So he had some tools to manage making our furniture from scrap lumber, you know, and they give us nice wooden, what do you call it, nice little places to have our own privacy between the beds, you know. So, and of course, we had that one light bulb in the ceiling and the potbelly stove at that time too. And my father started his hobby at the time, and my mother too. They started singing these songs. They're like plays from the Noah plays, which originated really from China. So my father, at nighttime when he came home, and it was pretty dark when you got only one light bulb, you know, in your ceiling, he managed to start handwriting these plays, all these books that he was singing about, stories about these plays, but in a sing-song way. When I say sing-song, these songs sounded like they were chantings. That's what they sounded like. So we were there, and I do remember that I got up one day in the morning, and my mother said, "Hurry up, it's time to go to school." And I couldn't move, I just stood there. And she turned around, you know, doing something, turned back, and I'm still standing there. And she goes, hurry up, it's time to stand up. I mean, to go to school, hurry up and get dressed. So I couldn't move at all. So she ended up taking me to the hospital, and I found out that I had heat stroke. I had 106 degrees is what my understanding is. They put me in an ice tub with a lot of ice in it. And I still remember I was in the hospital for 11 days with this heat stroke. And I came home. That's what I remember. And I think also my mother wanted to take, for me to take piano lessons. So I would go to practice in this one barrack room, they had this piano set up. And do you think I was a good little girl practicing my piano lessons? No. I guess I didn't like my lessons or something. But I knew how to play chopsticks. I would play chopsticks each time, and then I would go back home. So that's one of the regrets I have today, that I wasn't dutiful, nice little daughter. Okay. So, but while we were there, I think, oh yes, and I couldn't join any. They had Girl Scouts too at that time. Any organizations, we did go to church. There were 2 branches of Buddhist church, but we were not active in there. But I always had to be with my parents. I couldn't be in any other organizations. So then eventually, we're getting back to this loyalty questions, 27, 28, where the government is looking for all yes answers. Only yes, nothing else. My mother put down 2 yeses for both questions, which made our family in danger already.
Oh, Shirley, what would the yes was?
Yeah, the first one is that if you were asked to, would you go in the military for the U.S. against Japan? So my mother's question was, would you go in the WAC, the Women's Corps? My mother put no because she had young children, so she's not going to go off to fight in the Women's Military Corps or the WAC. The second question is, will you be 100% loyal? I'm abbreviating this question. Will you be 100% loyal to the U.S. and have nothing to do with Japan? Where does your loyalty lie? 100%. So my mother had a strange answer about, because she's married to a man who was born in Japan. She had relatives in Japan. She didn't really understand the question, so she put no. So our family had 2 no's, which is, we're already in danger already. My father, on the other hand, question 27, he had the same question that my mother had. Will you join the Women's Corps? And that was my father. That was kind of a weird question to ask a man. So what he did was, because it was unusual, what he did was he put a dash to indicate that he had read this question. And I think that's pretty understandable. He read it, but he can't answer it. He's not going to go in the WAC. The second question, will you be 100% loyal? My father, who was born in Japan, he put yes. I will be loyal. He will be loyal. Well, it's too late. Our family already has 2 no's, 1 dash, and only 1 yes. And we are deemed as unloyal U.S. citizens. So, okay, we must be sent to the Tule Lake Segregation Center, where a lot of people there are waiting to be shipped back to Japan. And their loyalty lies in their belief that Japan's going to win the war, so they want to go back to Japan. So we were sent to Tule Lake, and on this train, you have to keep the shades down. In each car there's a military person sitting in the front and in the back. So we're being watched all the time. And then the only time that we're able to get out of the cars from the train in the middle of nowhere is so that the trains could dump the waste. That's the main reason we were able to go out in the fields and then go back in the cars again. So then we arrived to by that time I was already, I would say about 10 and a half, almost 11. By then, you know, a little older. So I do remember I went to a Japanese school that was run by these pro-Japan. They were like activists, and they were allowed at that time that we were there, they were allowed to practice their activities at that time. So this Japanese school was run by them, pro-Japan. So I would have to get up early in the morning, pick up all the trash in our block. That was my duty. You know, with a stick, with the nails protruding at the end, pick up all the trash in my block, and then after that, I would go with my classmates to be with this pro-activist, and they wore these white bands around their head, white bands around their shoulder, and I was dressed that way too. And we had to hear all this propaganda that Japan's gonna win the war, and we had to exercise with them, and we had to bow together with them and show our loyalty. Of course, when we bow down, we're bowing down to actually the emperor. You know, that's a symbol. Bow down. And then after that, of course, I really didn't know what they were talking about, you know, but I listened as a good little girl, good little student. Then the fun part came for me. We students had to march in and out of the barracks, but I got to lead little children behind me. I got to be the leader, and that was the fun part, you know. We would march with goose steps and march around all over the place, and yeah, I just loved it. And then we reported to our schoolroom. Once inside the schoolroom, you know, you have to bow down. Also, you have to stand straight in front of your desk, and when the teacher comes to the front, he's got this long stick, you know. We bow down to him, and we did a lot of things individually. Like we had to sing, after we learned these military Japanese songs which pertain to winning the war. They were really racist songs that I didn't know what I was singing about, but I loved to sing them because there were a lot of bouncy tunes to this. You know, I loved to sing, but I didn't know what I was singing about. And we had to sit with a good posture all the time, and we would have to sing individually these new songs we had to learn. I remember one time this little cat came in. It was ready to have little kittens. I think one was starting to come out or something, and we all started screaming in our classroom. I remember that. I shouldn't laugh now, but I remember that. We're all screaming, and the teacher got so angry. But anyway, so one day the teacher announced that he's going to have a parent-teacher conference. So I knew when he was going to come, and our barrack window was wide open. So I sat underneath this wide open window to hear what they were going to talk about. So the first thing my father says to the teacher is, "How is my daughter coming along in school?" And my father, you know, he was very quiet, but my parents were anxiously waiting for a good answer from this teacher. So I'll start again. How is our daughter coming along in school? The first thing that I hear the teachers say is, when your daughter grows up, she's going to be a really good clown. Now, do you think that's what my parents wanted to hear? That my father wanted to hear? No, it was such an embarrassment. He wanted to hear my daughter, studious, good grades, blah, blah, blah. Here, I'd be a good clown. And I never thought of myself as being a good clown. So, after that moment, every night I had to, not every night, after my father came home from work, I had to stand in front of this board, I suppose, or scrap paper of some kind, and I had to go through all these Japanese writing, calligraphy. They're actually Chinese calligraphy, but they're in Japanese. I had to do that, and my father was very strict with me. I couldn't go out and play with my little friends anymore because I pulled a couple stunts, you see, already, right before then, where I would ask Mama after dinner, it was still early, Mama, is it all right if I go and play with my friends? And she would say, well, all right, it's still early. You could go play with your friends. So I knew, you see, they, at the Tule Lake camp, they showed all the latest Hollywood movies, the newest ones, and they would show it at the mess hall. And I knew there was going to be a movie shown that night. And here my mother said, yes, you could go play with your friends. So I was so happy and excited. I went to the mess hall by myself, sat down on the floor with everybody else, so excited to see this movie. Before the movie started, guess what? I get a tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. I look up, and it's Mama. She didn't say a word, not a word. She caught me, not a word. I followed her home. She didn't say a thing. And I'll tell you just one last thing. My girlfriend, Betty, I still remember her name, she was allowed to have coffee every morning. I was not allowed to have coffee. She was my same age. Here we are 10 and a half. I said to Mama, is it okay if I have breakfast with Betty's family in the morning? And so my mother thought about it and said, all right, just this time, you could go have breakfast with your friends, family. So I was excited. I got in line at the cafeteria. We have to be lined up there too. We had to be in line wherever we went. I got in line, got my tray, and I got my cup of coffee. I put sugar and cream in this because I know that's what adults do. I followed my girlfriend, sat next to her, and I put my coffee down there. And mess hall, you could see everybody. Everybody eats together at the same time. After we hear the clang, clang, clang of the bell that it's time for you to come to the cafeteria, of course. I'm sitting next to Betty. I'm so excited. Before I could get my hands on my treasure, my cup of coffee, I see a hand taking away my cup of coffee. And look up, it's Mama. She took away my cup of coffee. But she allowed me to stay and finish my breakfast. So I always used to think after that, why is it that Mama is like a spy? She's always spying on me. But afterwards, after I grew up and I was thinking about these silly things that I did, I realized that Mama was really trying to take good care of me. She was watching out for me. So of course, even if I had breakfast with my girlfriend, of course she'd look over there to make sure I was sitting with my girlfriend, and there she sees that cup of coffee. Because when we had milk, which I was supposed to get, we had that a regular little carton of milk. You could tell it that's milk, not a extra cup. So that's all I can tell you about my experiences in camp until we were ready to come out. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm sorry. So I went to Japanese school in the morning, but I had a special permission to go to American school the same day in the afternoon. So then in the afternoon, I go to American school. Then I pledge my allegiance to the United States. I sing patriotic United States songs like God Bless America. My teacher did not have long sticks. You know, it was more comfortable to be in an American school. So I did this every day, 2 different kinds of loyalties. I never thought of it. It was just routine for me. Never thought of it until I was much older, and I was thinking back, and I thought, wow, it's a wonder that I went to 2 different kinds of schools. You know, I never really stopped to think about it. It was just all routine.
Excellent.
Shirley, did you have a firm community you felt well connected to? And can you please tell me, where were the places that you felt a strong sense of belonging?
Okay, besides the sense of community or belonging was in the camp, because I was with Japanese people. We had something in common. The kids and me, my parents, we all had something in common. So I would say that was the first introduction of a community. When we came out, my parents were very hard workers. We did go to church once in a while because their friends were in church, and this was a Buddhist church, but they believe in 2 different types of Buddhist church, but they're Buddhist, but they were not active in it, but they had friends in it. So it was off when they got together with their friends off times, not during church. So I was never active in any kind of organization within a church. So I never experienced that feeling of being in a community, because I think because I was isolated still in the country, so I didn't have that feeling of, say, community at that time.
And then I wanted to ask, do you think your Japanese American experience, how do you think it might have differed from the Japanese experience in Japan? Like maybe like your family members in Japan. Do you think you had a significant difference?
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because of our lifestyle here, American lifestyle, becoming more Americanized. And I want to tell you that later, before I was retired, I'll kind of go back to more recent years. I worked for a Japanese company. So all the employees were from Japan, spoke Japanese. Our boss was I don't know how to put it, should I say the old style Japanese boss?
Like traditional?
Traditional, you know, and I was his secretary. Well, I had different kind of titles in this job, but mainly I was the secretary. But I was the only U.S. born Japanese. So it was like I was an outsider, because when everybody talked in Japanese, everybody talked to me in English. And I felt, especially from my boss, I felt like he was trying to teach me how to be a good Japanese woman, meaning don't laugh so loud. don't open your mouth. Be careful. You know, especially when I laugh kind of loud, you know. I'm enjoying my laughter. No, 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 no. That's not good at all. You know. There are certain manners I had to learn. And I had to be taught what a real boss was, a Japanese boss. Now, my boss, this is just a little example. He used to bring in donuts for everybody. So one day I thought, oh, gee, I'm going to help out and I'll bring donuts too. So I brought in donuts. That was a big no-no, my mistake. Because I brought these donuts on my own. I was not taught by my boss to bring it. I had to follow my boss's rule. He's the boss. He'll tell me when he wants the donuts. So I learned fast that way. Another thing is, so I felt kind of like I was kind of way down on the floor because I'm not a true Japanese to my boss. I'm a Japanese American. You know, I'm way down there, my ranking. And I remember he said, all right, go get some sushi we're going to have a company lunch. And you know, everybody, his employees had to work until he said it was okay to go home. You don't go to the boss and say, for example, is it all right, like in other American companies, is it all right if next month I took 1 week off for a little trip? Is that all right with you? No, no, that's a big no-no. He'll tell you when you can have time off. But you see, he could be very generous on one end of the scope. Very generous. The other end, I hate to use this term, but he could be very, I'm going to use the word mean. He could be really mean. No middle. Generous, mean. If you want to, okay, he'll tell a couple people, all right, we're going to go on a business trip to Japan. Okay, you, I'm going to take you to Japan. You could bring your wife, and me too. You could bring your husband. And we're all going to go on a business trip together. Okay. Well, of course, business trip, only me, my boss, maybe a couple other engineers. I worked for a high-tech company. Dealing with surround sound, that was our what we made. So that was a generosity part. Or he'll say, okay, I'm going to take all of you to Las Vegas. And I'll say to my husband, he's going to take us to Las Vegas. My husband goes, I don't want to go to Las Vegas. Well, I don't exactly want to go myself. No, when you're told you're going to go to Las Vegas, you're going to go to Las Vegas. No excuses. You're going to Las Vegas. When you go to Las Vegas, you got to do certain things together. You know, that type of thing. All these rules that I shouldn't say suffer. It wasn't suffering. It was you get used to it. And then another thing that helped me was, I think my sense of humor helped me. You have to have a sense of humor, you see. And I was very friendly with the other employees because the other employees knew how my boss was. We had to be very careful. And they knew I wasn't going to be a big tattleteller and tell my boss, oh, so-and-so said this about you. Oh, no, no, no. But they could trust me. So one day, my boss says to me, all right, go get some sushi. That's what I was going to start saying. Go get some sushi. So I counted how much do I eat? Oh, okay, so I'll just count how many everybody's going to eat. So I bring the sushi, big platter, put it on the table. Everybody's waiting for us to start eating lunch. Well, nobody touches this platter of sushi. everybody's kind of staring. And then my boss says to me, "Look, you didn't buy enough." Well, I didn't know the Japanese ate a whole bunch of, they could eat a whole platter themselves. I didn't know that. I knew I could eat a little bit, maybe quarter, but not a whole platter. So, okay, so I said, "Oh, what can I say? Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, I'll go and get some Chinese food." So it's amazing. I stuck with this company because I knew I would get to travel. I knew it. And the sense of humor, getting along with other employees, and traveling. And so I was able to travel to Japan several times. I even was sent there myself to bring these samples. And, you know, I'm not a marketing person. I'm just a, you know, little Japanese American girl who knows nothing about technical things. I get to bring this technical documents and samples. And I went by myself. I went to Australia. I went to Singapore, all by myself. And you know, I have to kind of smile because you know, it happened so long ago, and I wasn't afraid. I just went and did my duty, came back, and when we went to this sales meeting, I was the only woman, and you know, I'm older, and I remember when I was introduced to his business associates, he would introduce me this way. You know, before, I used to have this really young secretary, but now I have this old one. Well, I kept quiet, you know. You know, I have the sense of, you know, keep quiet, be calm, have that sense of humor, and you'll be all right. And I was taken out to lunch one day, and my boss, you know, in Japan they have displays of foods in the window outside in front of the restaurant. So my boss says, "Which dish would you like to have?" You know. And I thought, "Oh, I'd like to have this one." And it was something like a Hawaiian, what's that ice?
Shaved ice?
Yes, something like that, you know. "I'd like to have that." He goes, now remember, he's still my boss. He goes, "No, no, no. A person of your age never eats that kind of child's dish. That's not good. I have to have something else. See, I'm still boss, whatever I eat." Finally, I had the opportunity when I was able to like this from this Japanese company. Somebody said to this young woman, "Can you show Shirley around? You know, you could both go show her around the town." And so she said, "What would you like to do?" Or, you know. And I said, "Do you mind if we go and get this thing, this I wasn't able to?" Is it okay? I'd like to go to that place. So I had kind of a, shall I say, interesting experience working with the Japanese, but I didn't have that sense of community even in this Japanese company because, you know, I was still a Japanese American. They were still from Japan. They were very interested in what I ate. They were interested in what Japanese Americans did. When I had them come over to my home, for example, they were interested to see my home, this Japanese American woman's home. They come, they're surprised. "Oh my gosh, she's got this kimono hanging down." They don't do that in their homes. Everything's modern. But me, I want to have some Japanese cultural things as decorations for me. That was important. I had my kimono hanging down. I have my husband's swords are decorated. I have a lot of Japanese Japanese cultural things decorated in my home, which surprised them because they don't do that. When these Japanese came from Japan here, they want to have a home that looks American, not Japanese. But here I'm the opposite. Everything's Japanese.
So, Shirley,
Yeah.
speaking about your sense of community and the differences you just described, which are really interesting, going back in time to when you were a teenager, I assume that's after the camps and after World War II, did you feel like you belonged to a community then, or were there any social clubs
No.
in your teenage years that helped develop your identity?
Not at all. You know why? Because by that time, my parents owned a plant nursery in Menlo Park. I know they saved their money and finally opened this nursery. It was right next to the railroad track, but it was still their own nursery. And so I was not allowed to stay after school. I had to come home right away. By that time, they had 2 more children. And I had to come home and babysit. I had to do domestic work in the house while my mother worked too in the nursery. She was so busy working outside. And so I never got to even be in some kind of organization for young kids at the church even. Because I know what happened was this nice lady picked me up to go to this church event for young people. And so my parents said, okay, that's okay. So she took me, but she brought me home at 9 o'clock in the evening. And I remember that it didn't go well with my father to bring this young person 9 o'clock in the evening. That was not nice at all. So I could never go back to any kind of a church event. So unfortunately, there was this isolation where I was at home doing all this domestic help for, helping cooking, babysitting, cleaning, whatever, in our own house. And but I didn't have to work in the nursery to do watering or anything like that. I just took care of everything in the house. So no, I did not have any kind of sense of belonging of any kind of community. It was more like an isolation, actually. We did have relatives, friends over all the time, but it was just visitors.
Shirley, how did the transition, so that time period, going into like young adulthood, did you change your participation? Were you seeking out more community? Did anything change as you became a younger adult?
Okay, younger adult. Okay, so I'll,
In your 20s, let's say?
okay, let me start with high school maybe first. So I went to live down the street in, this, there are a lot of mansions down the road, I went to work for this senior couple, well-to-do, and they had a cook, permanent cook, live-in cook, and then they hired me to live there during the summer to help do ironing, light housework, and to be the server at their dinners, even at their dinner parties. And that's what I did to earn my money. And I did that with what I earned. I was able to buy school clothes. That's what I did, for one thing. So then, I do remember though this one time, I was serving some kind of soup to the mister of this house. And as I was serving the soup, I spilled it on him.
No.
And I remember I had to get his napkin and try to wipe his laugh. I shouldn't laugh. And then also, you know, I wasn't very good in ironing, especially other people's clothes. And this lady, she had this bra. It was pretty big. And I wasn't used to her iron. And the iron stayed on this white bra a little bit too long. And it kind of got brown.
Oh no.
But I didn't say anything. I just folded this bra neatly and I put it away. And then it was after that that lady said to me, "Shirley, I noticed you did something to my bra." Okay, so let me get next. And then I went to San Mateo Junior High School, and I became a schoolgirl. A lot of us were school girl or school boy. We stayed with family, and we helped babysit, helped them do some domestic work, and help feed, you know, their family and babysit. So I was assigned to this couple with 2 daughters, and they had this nice little, in the garage, this nice little room where I stayed. And so I became their schoolgirl. And I worked, I went to school during the day, and in the night I would come home and babysit the girls and help their mother, the missus, do the cooking. Now this, what was unusual was this missus, she was a lousy cook. She didn't know how to cook. The only thing she knew how to do was bake this wonderful cake. That's all she knew. But anyway, so still I was not with my cultural community. The only thing I felt that I belonged, in a sense, in a community was to be, on my time off, to be with other schoolboys or schoolgirls, especially the ones from Hawaii. And so we had something in common. So it's just like a little community, you know. That was the only time I felt like I belonged to a group at that time, but not a Japanese group, you know. And then weekends I had time off, and I would go home and then come back during the week or weekend again. And so that was my early time. So anything else?
Did that change in your 20s? Like close?
Yes.
Oh, that was like high school and into your 20s.
Definitely. Now, you know, I stayed at home, never able to join any kind of organizations, and here I was. But anyway, right before I was 20, I found a job as an accountant clerk at Stanford University, because I always remember the person who hired me, accounting department. He said, "Well, you have to start someplace, so you could start here." And I was a clerk typist, clerk accountant there for maybe about 3 years, you know. And so I kind of skipped forward. And then one day I came home and I made an announcement to my mother. I said, "Mama, I have something to tell you." Now, up to that time, you know, our family went on fishing camping trips every year. So came home, "Mama, I have something to tell you. I have a new job now." "What is that?" "Well, I got a job at Washington. Oh, my mama says, wonderful. They have good fishing out there in Washington. That's great. I said, no, Mama, it's not that Washington. It's Washington, D.C. It's at the other end of the United States. So that was my first step of freedom, independence that I never experienced. I remember saying goodbye to my family. I could still see myself, this little gray suit, this little red hat. And I said goodbye to them on the airplane. I found myself at the YWCA at Washington, D.C., and I got a job as a clerk typist at the State Department, at the Security Department. I didn't know anything about security departments. Didn't know anything about Washington, D.C. But from then on, I started to mature and learn, actually, about the government. I knew all the government officials, the buildings. I was 3 blocks from the White House. The security department I worked for were agents that you see on TV today. They're the ones that protect the president, you know, VIPs, that kind of security agents. And so my bosses, the 2 of them, they had a pretty high grade for their rank. Of course, I was only a clerk typist, so mine was low. However, I still had a top secret clearance. However, that top secret clearance was for my level, not a really high level top secret, because if you really have a top secret level, you never have meetings in a building. You go up in the sky, I mean air someplace. That's where you have your meetings. So I saw a lot of secret documents. And then I was also able to type, I remember John Kennedy's resume, because one of the agents was a good friend. And then also I started going to this Presbyterian church just because Eisenhower was a member of that church. And I thought, oh, gee, I'd like to go to that. And I became a member. I was baptized in this Presbyterian church. First time I became a Christian. And then I became involved with the young adults activities, became more involved, you know. And then my roommate, she was from Nova Scotia. She was a Methodist, and she invited me to her church activities. So it was the first time I had church activities. But as a employee of the State Department, employees were encouraged to, whenever VIPs came in from the airport, we were encouraged to go to the streets and wave. You know, they want some crowds waiting for the VIPs to come, so I got to go there. And then there's embassy parties. We would go there, and when they have, today we see presidents having this press conference. You know, you see reporters there and all that, a small group. We were encouraged to be in the audience, so I got to go here. Well, at that time, Nixon. He had a beautiful voice. I remember that. He'd have his, you know. So it was an exciting time for me, and also we were filmed one time for this Washington, D.C. travel film, where they were filming career girls in Washington walking down the street, going to their work, you know. So that's what I did. And so I was involved. I was really busy. I went to art museums, all kinds of museums. I took a bus to New York City all by myself. I thought, oh, New York City. I'm going to New York City on the bus, and I'll take a Gray Line tour, you know, that'll be safe for me. I go there, New York City, take this gray line, bus tours. I lined up besides, in back of these two Asian dark-haired girls, young girls. The young girl looks behind me, and it's my girlfriend that I knew from Hawaii, from California. And she was right in front of me in New York City. That was so unusual. So I got to spend time touring with my girlfriends, you know. I did that, toured Virginia, all over there, and started liking traveling. And I didn't mind going myself. It didn't I was not afraid. And then, so I was there about over 2 years, I think, and not one time, this is remarkable, not one time, even on holidays, did I feel homesick. I never went back home all those years to visit my family at all. In fact, my parents were thinking that they'd come and visit me one time, you know, but I never, that was the most exciting job I had in my whole life. Because of my new independence, living independently, becoming a Christian, I mean, you know, baptized a Christian, meeting or seeing different people. And the other employees I met that I became friends with, some were not clerks like me, you know. Maybe I was the only clerk typist. The others were people who were assigned to go overseas. They would say, well, you know, Shirley, I'm going to be gone for 2 years because I'm going to go here or there in Europe. So I won't see you till you come back. And then my boss told me, you know, Shirley, I think you should get your secretary ranking, because there's going to be in Belgium some kind of fair, and I'd like you to go if you pass this test. Well, I didn't pass the test, but I took stenotype, you know, the little machine that's used in the courthouse. I was able to master that to be able to record regular speaking. I could record it, so I mastered that, but unfortunately I didn't pass my test. But anyway, so after about a little over 2 years, this boss I had never met in security. He was more top over my two bosses, the top boss. He called me into his office, and I thought, you know, wonder, what, did I do anything? He said, Shirley, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to go to Europe for 2 years, and I won't be back. But Shirley, when I come home, I don't want you to be here. I want you to go home to California, where you belong, because if you stay here, you're going to end up being an old maid. I want you to go home. So that's what I did. I came home. As soon as I got home, Mama says to me, you know, they were just starting to build all these Berrien, Hewlett Packard, all these high-tech companies starting to develop in the Stanford Hills, you know. My mother was so excited. I'm finally home. Of course, I'm sure she missed me. My family must have missed me. I don't know. But she said, Shirley, why don't you go work for one of those companies? You know, that'd be wonderful for you. You know, when you leave home, I'm telling you young people, maybe you'll have a different experience. When you leave home, it's hard to go back home to live with your family again, your parents. And I didn't want to be home anymore. That was it. I left home, and I want to keep going. So I said to, but then I went to San Francisco to live. My mother made sure that I was living in a safe place. It was at Japantown. You know, she found a place in Japantown, temporarily anyway. But anyway, I got this job for this, I think it was some kind of a Christian church, some kind of a little company, something to do with books. And over there, I could use my stenotype machine, finally. What happened was, on the morning that I was to go to work, I got up late. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't tell the company that I got up late for my first day at job. So I called in and I said, I'm so sorry, but I found another job. I decided to go to another job because I couldn't tell them I got up late. I was too embarrassed. Subsequently, I found a job with this company called Luria Brothers. They were in the scrap iron business, and in the San Francisco business district, you know. This was the most beautiful office I ever worked in my life. Beautiful furniture, and everybody had beautiful furniture. So the manager who interviewed me seemed interested to hire me. And she said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to have to find out about what tonnage the scrap irons, you know, are going to be exchanged and blah, 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 about the tonnage. So I said, this job is not going to suit me at all because I'm not good at math at all. No, I don't think so. She said, oh no, it's easy. All you do is put these numbers in your computer and it'll tell you the answer, so you don't have to worry about being bad at math. So I was there, and then my friend, Japanese friend, she was into some activities in Japantown, San Francisco. And so that was the first time that saying the word Japantown was new to me, to be a part of a Japantown community, so to speak. But I moved out of there because I would hear these, I don't know, it was not in a good area at all. When you hear, what is it, something in the background, who are they that at Christmas time they come out with the little pots? Who are they called? You know, so
Salvation Army, you mean?
Yes, I would hear. I didn't think it was. Anyway, I'm gonna skip that. And then, and that's where I met my husband, where I introduced. Well, he was introduced to me at home. An introduction, a true introduction, where this insurance man knew there was a single man, who just came from Minnesota. He was still single, and they knew I was still single. And of course, I did have a couple other suitors, which didn't go well with my parents because they wanted to know their backgrounds. Who were their parents? Where did they live? And all that. You know, I wasn't free. For example, if I met the student from Stanford University who, you know, very friendly, nice young man who said he played tennis, and I said, oh, you play tennis? Well, I have a tennis racket, I'm not good. He said, oh, so let's get together and play tennis Saturday. So he comes knocking on the door, and my mother answers, you know, Mama, who are you? Oh. What's your name? Why are you here? He says, oh, I came to play tennis with Shirley. No, she's not. Oh, she's not going anywhere. She has to help me at home. That kind of thing. No, but so my husband was brought in by this friend, and I didn't know anything about anything that's going on that day. All my mother said was, you have to be home today. We're having company. That's it. So this man brings my poor husband. I think my husband's pretty nervous by then. He comes in. And my mother says to me right away, go get coffee reserved for them. So I still clueless, you know, why is this young man here? He looks kind of nervous. And we was just sitting, starting to eat our dessert. I had a piano in my living room where we sat, you know. My little young sister, she comes directly to the piano, and she starts playing "Here Comes the Bride." Yes. I got so upset. I went right to my sister. I said, "Go away, go away." That's what she did. And that was the start of my friendship with my husband. I was married to him for 63 years. And then, unfortunately, he passed away in an accident, falling in front of his face. Wherever we went, my husband and I traveled to Japan many times. He had also been in Japan as an interpreter in the army. We went to Europe, but we traveled quite a bit, which I was glad about. You know, I have very good memories. But every time we went someplace, he always fell down. Always fell in front of his face all the time, but never got injured, you know, bad enough. But unfortunately, this last time, he did injure himself, so, you know, never recovered. But it was wonderful years of experience with my husband.
Going back to your early years of life,
Yes.
what do you consider some of the most historical events?
Like most impactful events?
Yes, well, definitely the time that we went to the camps, definitely. And although I was young, a kid, and didn't know really what's going on, and it wasn't explained to me by my parents. This is why we're going, this is, you know, the reason you have to go to a Japanese school, you know. I just went along with being a part of their family and did what they wanted me to do. I never questioned it. So I think that was the impact, that life alone. And then when I went back to school, we never studied about it at all, not one word, because I remember even in high school, I think senior year, even the teachers would say something, it wasn't harmful, but something would come out which made me feel like I was not important because I was Japanese, you know. So, and I never told anybody about that either. I kept everything inside. I could speak about it openly. It's strange that I could think about these things after my senior year's retirement, when I volunteered at the Japanese American Museum. I didn't know much. I had to learn about my background. I had to write a letter to the archives in Washington, D.C. to get records of my family, what went on. Of course, I paid about $200, you know. But there was a record of every single thing. When I went to the hospital, when I went to the dentist, every little thing. And my father, you know, we hear about people losing their property and everything. That, of course, that's true. Of course, we didn't have property because we lived in that little cottage, you know, for since my father was a gardener. But he did own this car. I think it was a Model T. And he had just bought 4 new tires for it when we had to move. And he refused to sell it. They kept it in a barn or something like that. And he finally, in this archives document on my father, there's more pages about the bargaining of him trying to sell this car. And he finally got what he wanted. Now, I can't remember. It was something like, he got like $470 or something. But that was after we were in camp. So I think that was the main impact of the change that certainly would have changed my life, really.
I have to do a time check. It's about 9:15. I'm sorry, not 9:15, 12:15. I know you.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister-in-law, she dropped me off here. She's gonna pick me up, and I'm gonna call her
Okay.
when we're finished.
So you don't have to be in another.
No, no.
Okay. How about you folks? Do you have time to continue?
I'm good.
Okay, you're good.
I
Sorry,
don't know
my
about
mom
Ed,
called
though.
me. I'm so
What about
sorry.
Ed?
I have her on Do Not
That's
Disturb
okay.
breakthrough.
Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, what about Ed, though? I don't know what
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know what? I just want to finish about the Japanese community.
Okay.
Is when in the senior years. So my husband, when he retired, he started volunteering at UIKAI Senior Center in Japantown. Okay. Then after I retired, he became very active. When I retired, I became active in the senior community too. What I started to do was write plays,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, short, say like a fourth, fifth level play, humorous plays. So kind of that, what the teacher said a long time ago, kind of came true. Because I wanted the seniors to be able to laugh at something funny. So what I did was I produced it, I directed it, I had even all the staff members of UIKAI being in my plays. And so I wrote several plays, but I never became an actor myself. I just directed them. So that was, and then I tried to put some Japanese cultural subjects within my play. And then I started taking taiko drums, my favorite activity. I started learning senior taiko drums. So I just loved doing the drumming. And then, what else? Let's see, some exercise class. I can't remember. But that's how I started feeling this sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
Was after I retired. And of course, being with with the Japanese American Museum, and then my yearning to learn everything. I had to learn everything that I never learned because, of course, I didn't go to Asian American history. But so to this day, here I'm almost 92 years old. I'm not only interested, and this is because I started working at Japanese American Museum, I'm interested in other Asian American history. How about the Filipino Americans? How about the Chinese Americans? I'm more interested now, so I have so much to learn, and it's thanks for what the museum imparted to me. I have to thank the museum because I went to volunteer there. And now I want to learn so many things, and I'm not going to learn everything in life, There's so much to learn. So I'm very lucky that I have this opportunity now while I'm still able to independently do visiting and talking, and I like being with young people. I have 2 children. Well, I already told you they became my parents, but now I don't have any grandchildren. But I met this young, actually he's from my Red Ladder Theater Improv Workshop, professional actor, or actors who teach us how to use our imagination. And it's not only that, I've been with them for over a year or year and a half, What I learned in this workshop is learning about myself. We're all shy people. I mean, I'm extra shy. I'm really shy. About learning about my own self, liking myself, being positive, and to accept me for myself. And I've been learning that. And it kind of frees me not to be so intimidated, you know, and to respect others and not to judge others. That's one thing I did learn when I worked at the security department. Just because we read in the newspaper, the media about, say, a certain person, I'm not going to describe what it is, but we read about this person and we think, wow, this person is really something. Oh, wow, I'm going to have to go see this person speak because, oh my gosh, the things this person has done is really remarkable. Humanitarian, all this overseas and everything. But in the records, I see what kind of true person this person is. Is he really what's described in the media? No, we don't see the other side. So I've learned that about people. The people, how are they inside and the outside? As human beings, you know. So that's more important to me, and I've learned that. But regardless, to be kind to others, you know, to give respect and don't judge. That's one thing I've learned.
We're going to skip to Tara's question, number 10.
Oh, okay, sure. So I know you talked a lot about your Japanese American experience, but I was interested in knowing, especially like in your youth, how did your experience being Japanese American, how did it change with different historical events? Because I'm sure like with Pearl Harbor and everything like that, how do you feel like your experience in society changed with the changing world and historical events?
Okay, so I wasn't really kind of exposed to others, like people of my age in any kind of, say, church activities, organizations, to hear discussions openly of what's going on. Because I feel like I was living in kind of more in isolation. So I can't tell you about changes until the only changes I noticed was when I was years older, but not when I was that young. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can go to Daniel's question, number 15.
What does it mean to belong to a community, in your opinion? And do you think like throughout your lifetime it has changed, maybe due to personal experiences?
Oh, yes. I was never, let's put it this way. At home, I was never a good housekeeper. I was a lousy cook, but I was more organized outside of the home. And I had a very understanding husband who knew what it meant for me to be outside the home. And he was busy himself outside the home. So I kept busy. Actually, what I did was, let's see, I think maybe was I about 40? Or my husband says, you've been going to so many art schools and art classes and photography. I loved photography. I wanted to be a photographer. And then I took all these art classes and my credits start building up. So my husband says, why don't you go get a degree, bachelor's degree. You've got so many. So I had about 70 or something. So I think I was about 41 when I went to San Jose State, 41. And I finally got a bachelor's in creative arts. Then I waited till I was about 60. And I went back to San Jose State because I knew that it was going to be cheap for me to pay the tuition, very cheap. So when I was in my 60s, I went back to San Jose State, and by that time I'm in a master's program, and I decided I got to find out what's going to happen to myself. I'm a senior already. So I took a course in gerontology, and I was able to finally get a gerontology certification so I could, help other seniors in the community. And then I had an opportunity. I remember my counselor wanting to talk to me about future classes to get I suppose, master's. I'm just guessing, And I thought to myself, am I going to be in school until I'm 70 years old? I don't know about being 70 years old and going to school because I'm having such a hard time in my gerontology class. It's really hard, Art classes, it's okay. It's a breeze. But gerontology, and then I was thinking about it and I thought, no, I'm not going to go. But I needed one extra unit, I think, to end my course, I remember. And I decided to be a teacher's aide in downtown San Jose in the school. Oh, I was so nervous the first 2 weeks. The teacher yelled at the kids all the time. There was one big fellow, he got into trouble all the time. They had a police coming in, and then they were told to speak only English, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to tell the teacher one day, after 2 weeks of this, I can't stand it. I waited till the end of the class to tell the teacher, I'm sorry, this is not working out for me. All right, so that last day of class, to my thinking, I sit at this table surrounded by these students. And in front of me was this tall boy who always gets in trouble. And I thought, oh no, my last day and that troublemaker sitting right in front of me here. And then we all sit down. It's time to start our lessons. This troublemaker says to me, Mrs. Kuramoto, he calls me Mrs. Kuramoto. Mrs. Kuramoto, you're so nice to help us today. I thought, wow. And then recess time, I stayed because of that troublemaker. I stayed. And at the end of the session, he stood next to the teacher. When it was recess time, this young man would come next to me and start chatting. He'd say, look what we have to make for Mother's Day. It's this cheap soap, and we have to wrap it up. And I said, listen, it's recess time. I don't want you to get in trouble. Now you hurry up and go play with your friends. I don't want you to get in trouble now. Somehow, this teacher must have noticed that we kind of bonded. Somehow, I didn't know how, but somehow she knew. Because the last time, he was standing next to the teacher, and they had this little gift for me, for helping out. And so they gave me thank you letters from the students, and she had this young boy give me the gift, and so I was riding on a bus going home, and I started reading all these thank you letters, and then I came across the letter that this troublemaker wrote to me, Dear Mrs. Kuramoto, I started crying. I mean, I still kind of get teary-eyed when I think about that young man, even today, and I really hope to this day that he became a nice young adult, have a nice family, then end up going being incarcerated someplace, you know. So that's what changed me.
Tara, would you mind doing 17 and then we'll kind of open it up to maybe Tom might have some questions to follow up or Noemi. But could you ask number 17?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so nowadays, what places or spaces do you find yourself going to the most? I know that you go to the Japanese American Museum a lot. And then what is rewarding to you about being in these spaces?
Well, you know, what I find now is because after COVID, because COVID changed everything,
Sure.
I've noticed, you know, some of these well-known, like the Chinese, I forgot the name of that Chinese restaurant, folded down. It's replaced by, well, that's not replaced yet, but some other businesses have been replaced. Oh, I forgot to tell you that I worked for Nichibei Busan for a while as a sales clerk, and I just loved working in retail. But anyway, what I notice now when I go to Japantown, it's changed because we have new businesses, and you know, there's mixed marriages. That's changed. You don't see just the Japanese Americans. You see, you know, mixtures of, you know, they're not 100% Asian, or they could be many things. But I respect them because I had to learn to respect, you know. So that's been changing. The crowds I see, the sceneries. I do want to go back to that tattoo shop upstairs, you know, because I haven't had a chance, but the manju shop, except I just nearly fainted. I bought some for my 106-year-old auntie, manju. She'll turn 107 next month.
Wow.
I want her to be interviewed, but I don't think so. She, oh my gosh, I think they're what, $2.50 each? And I said, how much will this be? $70. $70? Oh my gosh, do you have something cheaper? So, you know, the prices and the foods, well, we have that pizza around the corner. Well, I haven't tasted the pizza, but things are changing. It's not like before. I don't know how to explain it because I don't live there. But when I visit there, I always go to the Nijiya market store. But of course, I feel like I belong, but yet I don't belong. My auntie, my father's sister, she lived in a home right across the Buddhist temple. And she was Mrs. Hagehara. She taught sewing there. So I've seen a picture once hanging in the Japanese American Museum there. So we would come when I was young. My father we would come to Japantown, San Jose, to visit my auntie. So I do remember there is a Japantown, San Jose. But now they're gone. The building is replaced by some apartment building. I'm not a member of the Buddhist church or Buddhist temple. I do go there when there's like a funeral or something like that, or the other Methodist church. Maybe I've been there a couple times, you know, but I'm not a member of a church. And speaking of church, I'm very interested in comparative religion. And I've been to all kinds of churches. I've been to the Jewish temple. I've been to several Buddhist temples. I've been to a Japanese Seventh-day Adventist church. I've been to, did I say African American church? No, I've been to that one because this is what happened. I was in a bus with African American ladies. We were all sitting in the bus. And all of a sudden, this black lady, I was sitting next to African American lady. She says, we're having this function at this church. Would you be interested in coming? I said, yes, I would. And so I went to their church. it was spectacular. I was invited to eat with them, you know, and so I'm kind of more of a visitor, and I studied comparative religion, and I have deep respect for all religion, and I have respect for everybody for their own beliefs, and since I've been trying to learn not to judge people, you know, so that's my thing.
Great. Thank you for sharing all that. And I just want to open it up to any questions, maybe Tom or Noemi, any follow-up questions. Yeah.
Shirley,
Yes.
what are your concerns about the future of Japantown?
You know, I think unless, and I've heard a rumor that the young people would like not to have Japantown fade away, not to. But it could happen if we didn't have young activists, that we've got to preserve Japantown. We've got to preserve the history. That's very important. So I think it's really important that they continue with festivals. The museum gives information. I mean, it's to educate the young generation and have them educate their younger generation. But it's important, I think. Otherwise, we won't have Japantown. It'll be full of housing. I don't think that should happen, you know. And it would fade. We're having a new generation of new cultures, so it's very easy for them to take over new businesses, which is non-Asian, nothing to do with Asian history or culture or anything. All of a sudden, we're going to have something different. I don't think that should happen at all.
Any other questions?
Well, just kind of an aside, when you're talking about different religions, were you talking about in Japantown? Because that's an interesting part of Japantown. It has all these different kinds of churches. And I think
That
it's
is
been like
true.
that.
Yeah.
It's been like that for quite a long time.
That's right.
So there's kind of an interesting intercultural mixture too, but it's still, we still call it Japantown. So
That's right.
so it's-
I think on the corner, I think on, is it 5th Street, same as the museum. At the end, I see these African Americans.
Oh, yeah.
I always think, I wish I could go in there and see, would I be allowed to sit in there? I'm not sure. And one of my bucket list, one of them I can't do it anymore. I've always wanted to go to Tibet. I always wanted to go to the monastery. And I can't do that now, but I could do it here. There's a lot of monasteries I could go to. There's one in a big temple in Carmel, great big one, that I've asked my children that I'd like to go there. And it's interesting because, and then another thing is, I'm sure this is kind of silly for you. I've always wanted to hug a cow. And I found one nearby. It's in Pleasanton,
Oh, wow.
in the hills there. These are Hindu cows. They're run by this Hindu organization. And these cows, they're laying on the ground, and you could lay down and hug them and pet them. They're very gentle. And so I said I'd like to go to this, see these comfort cows when it's warm, But my children's feeling is, why wait till spring? It's like, okay, we'll do it this month. It's almost like, while I'm still healthy, what's going to happen in January. You never know. We not go there. And of course, another thing is my bucket list is riding a Army Jeep. That's been my dream to have a Jeep. You know. So I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with things, but you know, because I am a Japanese American, and because my parents worked for the Fuller Company during the summertime, where they had this Army Jeep, and Mr. Fuller would take my father and me and my brother to the lake fishing on their Army Jeep. That's what did it. I always wanted an Army Jeep.
They are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had a last question, or maybe two, but what part of Japanese culture would you like to see preserved in the Japantown area, whether it's San Jose's or San Francisco? Like, what of your generation's culture would you like to see preserved?
Yeah. Well, of course, I like to see the temple, Buddhist temple, the other Methodist church. I like. Nothing changed really, but things are changing. Can't help it. I work for the Nichibei Busan store. It seems like the most crowd they have is when it's Obon time. People will come in. They're busy, you know. But other than that, the younger generation, this is from my perspective. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, that's only my own perception. I don't know. You know, things, even at Uaikai activities, they've stopped certain things, activities, you know, after COVID. And what am I trying to get at? Well, listen, this is, see, I really don't know, because at that 4th Street Bowl, they still have that karaoke singing. So that's still the group that's still going on. I'm sure that'll go on for a while. I have never joined that group. I went a couple of times, but anyway, I can't think of anything else because I'm just so centered just in my own activities. I haven't ventured out more, really. So it's hard for me to really predict and say, oh, that's too bad. But really, I do say that's too bad. I felt bad when Aki's Bakery moved away.
What year was that?
Gosh, that was before COVID. I know that. It's been a long time, about 10 years ago.
Did you know the owners?
I didn't know the owners, but they moved out. So we now have just a manju shop, and whatever desserts we could get is at the store, but store-bought's different, you know. And then if I take a group out once in a while, a mixed group, culturally mixed group, a small group to Japantown, I don't take them to the Japanese restaurant. I should, but I don't. Because I take them to Hukilao. Because the reason is because they do serve Asians and American foods like hamburger, hot dog, you know. I want a variety. That's where I take my group, over there. And I think it just makes it more comfortable for people with different
tastes.
backgrounds.
So for you, what would be the heart of Japantown? Which top 3 places or
Yeah, I would
spots for
say
you?
the heart. It seems like the heart, like Obon, it has some connection to the Buddhist church. It seems to me. Of course, the Wesley Church does something too, but it seems like the heart is the Buddhist, the Japantown. I mean, the temple is my feeling. I'm not sure because I've never been active there, but it seems things go on over there. They have the Day of Remembrance at that location. They have other locations, you know, there at that site. So I think that's the central hub to me. And it's not that little coffee shop, you know.
Yeah. So in some ways, the values that you want to preserve are kind of like you said earlier, like non-judgmental attitudes and things like that in
Yeah.
terms of the culture.
Yeah, I suppose even with a couple of new stores there, you know, of course I like the little things they have. They're all cute and all that.
Mhm.
But it's really not, even though it's maybe a theme of Japanese, but it's really not the Japanese culture that I think of that we find in, say, the Nichibei Busan store,
Mhm.
where they have the judo equipment, you know, they have the screens, they have the kimonos, you know. That to me is more of a cultural
Mm.
Japanese store, and I hope it remains there for a while. I would hate to see that one go,
Mhm.
really,
Yeah.
because they have a little museum there too, you know, about the family history.
Thank you for sharing that. Is there any last questions, follow-up questions, before we go to number 19, which is Daniel's? But Tara, did you have a last question before we go to?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, we can go to number 19 then.
Do you have any questions about this interview process? Or do you want to cover something that we didn't share today?
You know, I think I covered quite a bit. I went through your questions and I wrote it for myself, you know. My computer and printer's not even working.
Oh.
Everything's I had to leave my place at 7:30 this morning because the new roof man was going to come into my driveway, but it has nothing to do with your question. But I think I gave you extra information that was not really necessary. Let's put it that way. So you have to delete that, you know, back to your main question. But I was honored to be invited here. I was really honored. I have been interviewed by tape. This tape is at the Hoover Library at Stanford, and I listened to my interview for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I was just rambling on and on and on, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is getting so boring.
No, we're really excited about hearing, you know, the details of your life throughout the process of, you know, growing up and becoming who you are now. So all the details really just make it richer, you know, with detail. So we get to know you better. We get to know
Oh, thank
the
you.
history better, you know, and your values and what you want to see preserved.
Well,
so we
thank
can-
you.
we
Well,
can grow
you
from
saw
that.
the documentary that was made.
Yes, yes.
That was half an hour long. And of course, I never show it to younger children. You know, they're too young.
I see.
But because you are all young adults and so kind to pay attention to some details, you know,
Mhm.
I was honored to show it to you.
Right. But thank you so much. And I don't know if y'all want to say anything, but
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much. It was such an honor to meet all of you, and I'm really looking forward to your futures, your career. I hope this interview has helped me to kind of remember some things, and some things that I should try to know more about because of the answers or the questions you had for me. I like to think about them. And I thought about it last night. All night long, I hardly slept. I think I was up from 2:30 in the morning. And I had to get out of my house by 7:30.
Oh my.
So I thank you because you inspired me to think more about what's going to happen to the future of Japantown. You've got me thinking now, really. I don't think I'll be activist to preserve Japantown, you know, but I'll be a supporter for sure. And so I do want to thank all of you.
No, yeah, we're inspired too. You know, some of the things you bring up give us ideas, and so it's really just an exchange. And yeah, we want to see Japantown, you know, grow and but also preserve what's, you know, special about it. And so, you know, hearing from you, you kind of give us that sense of what that is. You know.
So I'm
Yeah.
I'm still learning. There's
Yeah.
a lot for me to learn, even about my own family.
Yeah. So if you want to get involved in the oral history project, you're welcome to, you know, do interviews too with us, and we can work together.
Oh, thank you
But
so much.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.